It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspective of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA AM 1490, FM 101.3, JAWS Country FM 100.9, and ESPN Radio AM 630 and FM 92.9. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Another Saturday morning and another chance to learn a little bit more about the oil and gas industry and how it affects the entire economy. Rod Taylor is the general manager, Pioneer Buick GMC, and also with Pioneer Family Auto Group, 7 lots in the Mid-Ohio Valley. And in our show, as we talk about the oil and gas industry, it's just getting tougher and tougher. And you can blame it on Russia and Ukraine, the current state of the government, or whatever the case might be. But the bottom line is, when we're licking $5 a gallon, it's tough to drive around, which in turn affects everything because then people aren't out and so forth and so on. I would imagine that they yell at you for it, right? And it's not your fault either.
Oh, yeah. I hear a lot of it. It's time if you need your car tuned up, it's definitely a prime time to make sure your car's working as it's expected to.
And then so what about the diesel or trucks or I haven't seen trucks or SUVs. If anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the volume of the bigger vehicles, which, some people would call the gas guzzlers or whatever the case might be, which probably is a little misconception compared to back in the day. But the number of bigger vehicles you sell still status quo?
Yeah, we can sell as many heavy-duty vehicles as we can. The 1500s are selling well. We're having a little bit of struggle getting the 2500s and 1-tons, but they're basically pre-sold before they even get here. So we haven't seen that market slow down on the heavy-duty trucks at all.
I've got that Tahoe RST. Love it, by the way, and you didn't even get to sweep it out before you sold it to me, right? But and I know that's kind of been the way it is, and it seems like the used cars are maybe even more than the new price of the new cars, and that's because we can't get the new cars for 13 weeks, or that's the way it was. Is it still kind of that way?
Yeah, it's still kind of that way, and we're definitely paying top dollar for trade-ins, and basically a good trade-in doesn't last a day. We had the last couple on Saturday that we took in on trade were sold like 2 hours after we took them in. The salespeople just have a list of people looking for stuff, and they don't last, and it gives us the opportunity to pay top dollar. Plus, our local banks are still, with the interest rate bumps, they're still holding fast to where their rates were, and we've got fantastic rates, and it's just working out well right now.
As it relates to the oil and gas industry, sometimes more than not gets a bad rap about the footprint or whatever the case might be. So talk about this industry, and specifically as it relates to oil and gas and efficiency and compliance and all these things from the time Rod Taylor started in the business to now, how things have changed so much. And that the biggest misconception probably is that we're polluting the world by every time we start the car.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is a big misconception. These people I work with are the most cautious people in the world. They don't want to hurt anything and damage, the environment. And some of this stuff's getting blown out of proportion. My biggest problem is finding enough vehicles for their needs right now.
All right, so to talk about I'll use my example of the Tahoe, but the gas mileage it gets is flooring. I had to do the Meredith College game, so I'm driving to Iowa and back, and the mileage, the gas mileage that I get is crazy compared to maybe what you would think. Is that the way most are now, or as it goes? Yeah,
they're all becoming more and more efficient with with the computers driving the engines, and it's just it's totally different than what it was. They're so wary of fuel economy, and that's what every customer that comes in is always asking about, the fuel economy, and it just keeps going up and up.
Can you break down like top to bottom? Well, maybe not even that, but like, are there some electric cars now like through is there Chevys or what do you got?
We're going to be getting them. We're getting all the equipment and getting all the onboarding stuff done at this time to have the Chevrolets and the GMCs and also the Ford store too. We'll be having the Lightning.
All right. So, well, for the record, I'm going to stay with what I got. I mean, until you can tell me to get into one of those. All right. So, hey, I appreciate your time. Rod Taylor is our guest. Energy Insights is the program, and we are on location today, Pioneer Buick GMC, and we thank them for getting us a little smarter about the oil and gas industry. Until next week, have a great day. Energy Insights on a Saturday morning brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. And why not talk a little bit about vehicles as they roll down the road as we try to avoid going to the gas station as much as possible. With us is Rod Taylor, and we are at Pioneer Buick GMC. Rod, before we get into prices and supply and demand and barrels of oil and stuff that we talk about on the show all the time, I want to talk about the oil and gas industry as it relates to the auto industry, and specifically in our area, if it was 2012, I don't even know what year it was, and it doesn't matter right now, but when the shale boom hit, was that like a banana? It was, even the radio guys were like getting new advertisers, but I would imagine for you guys, it was the white truck bonanza, right? Yeah,
absolutely. We were trying to keep up with their needs and getting vehicles in here. Our service picked up. I mean, it was a great time in the valley here.
All right, and then ebbs and flows as it goes. Obviously, kind of went away. I remember it seemed like everywhere you turned there was a white truck. Let's start with that. What's up with that? I mean, what if you had a black one or a red one? What was it? Just like we want the simplest, plainest? Give me 3 or 4, or how'd that work?
Yeah, well, they'd ask, can you trade that black one for a white one? Was most of the time was what we were doing, because that's just the predominant color that they use in the industry. Signs show up well on the sides of them, and white's just the way to go.
Probably maybe even out in the field, maybe it doesn't get as hot. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but no. I think most of our listeners wonder why a white truck.
Yeah. But you're right. The heat, if you're in the summer and you're sitting out at a job, some of the positions, if you're in a black one, it's going to cook. But the white one, I just talked to a gentleman the other day. Specifically, I did have a black one just the other day, and he said, I got to have a white one because he sits out there in the field and I can't have him baking.
All right. And then as it relates to the oil and gas industry and so many different, particularly loyal oil and gas folks around here, relationship marketing in any business probably is the way to go. I would imagine Pioneer Family Auto Group over the years, Rod Taylor certainly over the years has the guy that is going to come here and gets all his cars, right?
Yeah, we're fortunate. We've got a good program. We've taken good care of people after the sale with our good service and parts, and I'm fortunate that people keep coming back to us.
Let's talk about 2020, 21, 22. I would say that the Pioneer Buick GMC, and you might shake your head, but I thought you guys held inventory better than it, or had inventory. I don't know that you held any, but you had it better than anybody. And some other car dealers are going to say that's because Taylor was lucky. But the bottom line is Taylor was ready, right?
Yeah, partially. Part of it was they offered a bunch, and I took a bunch at the time when things were really getting at critical mass, and fortunately it worked out because they gave the vehicles to me.
And maybe we'll do another show on the fuel as it relates to, over the years how vehicles have become so efficient. I think about it and it shakes my head, and they continue to get more and more. But talk about what that's done to you right now. But so you go from pandemic to not being able to potentially get cars and or having to sell them at a rate higher than people, you get what you get. But that's the supply and demand of it now is the next thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's still are chip issues. We've got vehicles that are unfortunately been sitting since December of 2021 that still physically aren't here yet because of the chip issue. But it's getting better, and we're starting to see them come in at a little bit better pace, and GM is definitely concentrating on sold orders to get them out as fast as they can.
Pioneer Buick GMC is the place on location today. We're talking to Rod Taylor. He's the general manager of this fine place. You might want to come when you're looking for a vehicle. We're talking oil and gas, and brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Industry Energy Insights, where we learn a little bit more about the industry every single week. We thank Rod Taylor for his time. We'll have him back next week. We'll dig a little bit deeper from Pioneer Buick GMC.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WMOA Local Radio, JAWS Country, and ESPN Radio, as Johnny Wharf brings you your local and inside perspectives going on in the oil and gas industry right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.